So today's call is an opportunity for us to come together, share experiences, and continue our collective efforts towards the creating an inclusive streaming media industry. To start with, welcome again. Today's call is packed with an excitement. We will start with a quick overview of women in streaming media, our dynamic allyship program, quick introduction to dedicated team behind it. Then later we'll start with introducing our esteemed ally of the month. With this, we'll get ready for engaging, informative, and very interesting AMA session. You can ask questions anytime in the chat window. And then we will wrap up the session with our upcoming events that you don't want to miss. Don't forget to share your feedback with us using the link, which I will post it sometime, after introduction in the chat window. So let's start with it. Thank you so much again for joining today and making a difference in our network. Let's start the call with introduction. Myself, Dipali Narsikar, I have more than 2 decades of experience in OTT industry. I've been deeply involved in streaming media industry. It's a full of exciting experience, focusing on launching, expanding, developing the OTT services. I currently work as a OTT consultant and balancing my role with my responsibilities as a wife and mom. I'm passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly empowering women in the streaming media industry. At Women in Streaming Media, I lead the allyship program. I will now pass the floor to Leto for her introduction.
So hello, my name is Lito Baksevanaki. My background is on software engineering. I have like 15 years of hands-on work on software engineering. The last 8 years, I have moved to more leading positions in the area. Currently, I'm a software engineering manager in Bitmoving and responsible for the playback solution for Bitmoving. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Leto, for introducing yourself. Our another team member, Lisa, she's traveling today and unable to join today's call. But Lisa excels in cross-functional leadership and adopting the dynamic environments. Her expertise, including media, technology, product, and program management. Given a continuous influx of our new members, I would like to take a moment and formally introduce Women in Streaming Media and our allyship program to everyone on this call. We are a global networking organization, and a mission is to increase diversity and give the more visibility for women leaders in the streaming media industry. We support women in the streaming media industry by fostering participation and leadership. We achieve this through meaningful connections like allyship program, mentorship program, speaking opportunities, and our educational vertical. In January 2024, we launched our allyship program, bringing together allies from the streaming media sector. This program identifies the potential industry leaders, engage them in conversations, highlight as Ally of the Month, and promote ongoing conversation within the industry. Our program offers a structure for activities such as AMA session or a skill development workshop or a knowledge sharing program. We aim at helping women in streaming media move forward in the industry, which leads to engaging more male leaders from the streaming media industry to support our global network and amplify our efforts. Allyship program aimed to create a real change by increasing awareness, understanding the privilege, or practicing allyship through the small actions every day. We encourage our male leaders in the industry to join us and lead by the example. This means amplifying women's voices, supporting their representation, and creating an inclusive space for women in streaming media industry. Okay, all right, now it's the time to introduce our ally of the month. Let's start with the introduction followed by the AMA session.
So it is my great pleasure to introduce Stephen, a visionary leader in the realm of technology, the CEO and co-founder of OTTera, with a career spanning over 2 decades. Stephen has been at the forefront of technological innovation, driving forward-thinking solutions and groundbreaking advancements in digital media. Stephen is a visionary entrepreneur with a profound impact on the digital media landscape. He is the co-founder of 2 companies so far, OTTera and Toon Goggles. Hope I pronounced it correctly. He is a proven leader with a track record of success in mobile application technology development, content acquisition and creation, white label platform streaming technology. He has also led companies like Digital Media Interactive, Anywhere Artists with his technology background. So today, the distribution of services managed by Stephen and his team reaches over 100 million monthly unique viewers across every major consumer electronic device worldwide. He's leading overall strategies for content licensing, business development, monetization, and ensuring that OTTera and its related companies stay ahead of their competition. But I think your journey, Stephen, in the streaming media industry and more details about your current position can be better presented by you. So please join me welcoming Stephen in today's Ally of the Month session. So Stephen, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, first and foremost, for the introduction. It is OTT era, but we pronounce it OTTera, but
Okay.
it is OTT era. So that, you know, either way, it works very fine for us. But again, thank you very much for the kind introduction. I appreciate being invited here to speak. I would say, first and foremost, it's very humbling because I've always been a champion for diversity for obvious reasons. I sit in that box myself. And you know, as an outlier, I always look to foster that in others. So not particularly, you know, focused on women, but really human beings and character, and whether it's women, whether it's, you know, other minorities, Blacks, Asians, people from within the LGBT community, whatever the case may be. I just from the sake of knowing the amount of helping hands that I've needed throughout my career, I look to help others. I look to be empathetic and compassionate to the plights of others, and I recognize that in order for me to reach the levels that I'm at, I've needed a lot of help. I've needed a lot of assistance, and over the years, the bulk of that assistance has come from people that have also been able to be empathetic to the things that aren't spoken about. And I think that it's that recognition that pulls us together. So that's kind of what, you know, that's what allyship means to me. It's really the support of each other. Because, you know, I don't technically sit within that boys club either, right? So I need to personally welcome any help, any support. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in karma. So the help that I give to others, it's been proven to come back to me, and vice versa. And, you know, in this space, you know, as you mentioned, I've been in this for nearly 2 decades. I've been fortunate enough to watch the people that have helped me along the way also continue to rise within the industry. And It's enabled me to continue to rise. And as I continue to grow my company becomes a reflection of my values. And, all that being said, there's still much further that we have to go. So, I continue to be support. I continue to seek support. And again, I'm definitely happy with where the industry is moving, but there still is so much more um, that I'd like to see happen to truly feel like I'm in an industry that is reflective of the actual, consumers of the technology and media that we are pushing out into the world.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I mean, we have a saying in Greece that we say that the hands that give are never empty. So I think this goes in line with the karma concept, right? Okay, so let's move on to the AMA session. I will stop the sharing so that we can discuss like in more informal way. And I will start like with a really straightforward question. What actions can male leaders take to support female colleagues in the streaming media workplaces?
Again, I think empathy. I think that male leaders in general can show empathy, understanding that that women of all races, all backgrounds, all ages tend to experience some level of discriminatory practices, whether they are overt or covert, and to not recognize that and to not recognize the traumas that come along with that, even if you as a male, even if us as males aren't a part of that previous trauma, those previous actions, understanding that those things exist enables us to have a better conversation and understanding with them. I think that conversation helps a lot as well. I find that for me, I talk, I want to understand what my employees or counterparts or even in some cases my mentors that are females, I like to understand what they're going through and what they're experiencing, and if there's any way that I can help to either open up a door or make an introduction or block them from an uncomfortable situation. I mean, I think there's so many things that happen that we take for granted and that we don't always know about because we're not conscious in the moment to think about what the other person may be experiencing. I've sat at tables where males have made jokes that they think are funny that can be viewed. You're laughing, so you know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
but they make jokes they think are funny, but they're clearly uncomfortable to the women at the table. And because of, in some cases, who these males are, I'm not even in a position to, outright confront it just because it's not appropriate in that setting. But at least being able to speak with them afterwards and let them know, hey, I heard that. I don't support that. I think that little things like that show empathy. We're not able to take on every battle. And I think that's the thing that people don't always understand about the plights of anyone that is coming from a position of being a minority. We can't take on every single battle. There are some things that, or some moments where we can't react, because if we react, then it's taken as being reactive or overreactive or sensitive. And just at least knowing that another person sees and heard and understands and is empathetic to what you just experienced, in a lot of cases, that's enough to make a person feel reassured in that moment. And of course, again, if there's something extreme, then step up and stop it. But I think, you know, what's most important is just being empathetic and being an ear and being open to understand that, you know, not everybody is having the same experience. And women in particular in this case have a lot of different biases that they're dealing with. Again, whether it's youth, whether it's you know, being more mature, whether it's being of different races and backgrounds. I mean, there are a lot of things that happen, and there are a lot of you know, whether it's innuendos or microaggressions that occur that can drive a person crazy over time if people continue to pretend that these things aren't happening. And I think that what's most important is to let them know, hey, I saw that too. Like, you're not crazy. Yeah, there is something going on here. There is something strange about this company having 500 employees and you don't know of one woman that works in that company. You know, like it's there. It's obvious. And we see it, we know it. You know, again, just being understanding to the fact that that exists, that helps and goes a long way. And of course, any other way to support, whether it's, again, putting them in a position where they're able to speak and communicate and close deals, whatever the case may be, with other males, empowering them, giving them the ability to lead teams, giving them the trust to speak on behalf of the organization, you know, doing whatever you can to build up confidence within women on your team as well.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I mean, this answer would link to another question I have. Like you mentioned already about some uncomfortable jokes that may be said in a roundtable. What other specific challenges have you observed that women face in streaming media industry?
You know, again, there's so many, and I think that as we continue to kind of break it down, you know, there's different types of challenges that aren't always unique to just women, right? Sometimes I see challenges that are unique to Black women, which is another minority within the streaming industry, right? As I talk about these companies that have, you know, 500 employees, maybe they do have some women, but very few of them have Black women. And that's something that I am vocal about behind the scenes to a lot of the senior management of a lot of these companies. You know, I don't want to call out any names, but it's very clear, you know, you know, some pretty prominent companies that have women, they have no Black women. And, you know, the same goes for women from the LGBT community. So, you know, again, there are a lot of challenges that I see, but I think that it takes all of us, including women, to be empathetic to the plights of other women and other races and other you know, sexual orientations, whatever the case may be, within the streaming industry to really make a change. You know, again, I am a supporter of women, but I'm a supporter of human beings in general. So I don't generalize and say, okay, this is what I'm seeing. I see a lot of issues that need to be fixed. I can't fix all of them. I myself, again, am in a bucket. So that's part of why I believe that I can be as empathetic as I am, because I'm there too. And throughout my career, it's largely been women that have helped me climb, that have opened up opportunities for me and my company to be able to provide services or or handle large projects. And I recognize that, and I appreciate that support. And again, that's part of the allyship is I'm helped and I also help. And that's kind of the gist. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot. And I would say that I'm vocal about what I don't see. And I try my hardest to, communicate that. Again, I'm not in a controlling position of what other companies do, but I am in control of what my company does and how my company operates and how we hire and how we promote and how we, how we evangelize. And that's what I stand for.
So, I mean, from the position that you have, how can you support policies and practices that promote work-life balance, particularly for women that face, unique challenges?
Can you repeat that question?
What kind of policies or practices can you support in your company or from your position that promote work-life balance, particularly for women who may face unique challenges?
Again, I think that for us within our company in general, we're fairly relaxed, right? So as far as challenges that affect a work-life balance, I mean, if there's an issue where a woman in our company needs to see a doctor or needs to, take care of their children or their family, whatever the case may be. I mean, we've always been supportive of that. We don't block that. We have an office, but it's not mandatory to come in every single day. I mean, it's all everything is within reason. I wouldn't say that we have I would say that we have I would say I wouldn't say that we have a policy for that in particular, but we have a policy that and a way of working and a work environment that is working for everyone. Because again, I mean, I myself am a single father of four, right? So there are times when I have to be able to take off. I mean, we have policies that look out for the best interests of everyone, not women in particular. But I would say that, we understand, and I would encourage other companies to also have that kind of flexibility if they're working in an environment where that's acceptable.
Yeah, flexibility, yeah, definitely. I mean, the past years it's much more possible to work from home. When I had my kids, that was not possible. So, yeah, things are getting better, but still there is more effort to do. So can you share an example of a time when your allyship made a positive impact on a female colleague, or maybe a colleague in minority, if you want to make it more general, in the workplace environment?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few times. I mean, I don't want to be too specific because I don't want to put people's business out there, but I would say there have been, there have been times in particular where women, not from my company in particular, but from companies that we work with, have communicated to me some of their struggles internally. And again, this goes back to just being empathetic and being an ear, in some cases, being a friend. And I was able to communicate to them the importance of their role and the impact that they have, because them being, in this case, they were the only woman in an executive position in a very large streaming business, and they were facing issues with regards to their ideas being respected or appreciated. And I think in that moment, she just needed another perspective to keep her motivated. And I had to remind her that, this is how it starts, right? Like I see Dipali put, it's a red flag if no women are in a leadership role, but there has to be a starting point. And what I reminded her is that there has to be a starting point. So you're there, but you're there also in a position where you have some influence, you're an ear to what's happening behind the scenes. Your representation in general means that, without you being there, then what could really be happening behind the scenes? And what she was doing in this case was very motivational even for me, because again, she's the only woman in an executive position in a large company, and that gives her a lot of respect outside of that. And I think that in that moment of her frustration, she wasn't seeing that perspective. And since then, she's been more assertive in her role, and she's a great friend to this day. Very appreciative of that conversation and that kind of pep talk. But I think that as people that are in positions where we are not always a respected voice in the room, or not always an acknowledged professional in the room, it's good to have that support from others in the space, so that again, that you're not crazy, that you're not stupid, that it's not just you, right? Other people are seeing it too, because there is a bias that exists, and I'm not the person that can say why, but I can say that it exists, and I can be personally an ear to those frustrations. I can, offer suggestions on how to deal with those situations. But again, I go through them myself. So I definitely don't have the answers. And there's times when I need to vent as well to understand better, how to deal with certain situations. And I think that we just need to be able to count on each other.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. So this covered also another question I had, like, how do you handle situations where you observe gender bias, right, and discrimination at work, which I guess that was the case you just described. What company policies do you think are most effective in promoting gender equity?
I mean, I guess any policy that's non-gender specific. I mean, I think that, women need to be treated like any other person in the workforce. So gender specific policies. I mean, I don't have any within my company, other than, standard health related policies. But in general, we treat, and within the company, we treat everyone as equals. Everyone has an ability to come and speak to a manager, and and vice versa. So there's equality within at least the organization that I have.
Yeah, I mean, for example, in hiring processes, right, I find it difficult to get female CVs, right? I mean, I don't know what I need to do, but I have to make, you know, maybe the ad more appealing, or I don't know, make sure that the women would feel supported in the company. Is it the same for you? I mean, what is the percentage of female CVs that you get on an opening?
I would say it depends on the role. I mean, we get quite a few. I would say we get quite a few. We hire a lot of women. Our company is almost 50% female.
Oh, that's
So, you know, we hire women often. We have numerous women in leadership positions within our company. But you know, I would say another thing as well, and this again, this doesn't apply only to women, but because of the fact, and I was talking about this to Dipali when we spoke a few days ago, but because of the nature of this industry, you know, a lot of times there are roles that can be applied for where a minority does not have the experience out of the box simply because these are these are areas that have been closed off, right? And because of that, people that are in a position of leadership at times, especially if you're looking to create a diverse and you know an equitable environment, we need to take it upon ourselves to recognize not just experience, but also the drive. And everyone needs to be able to start somewhere. So if everything is about you know 5 years of experience in a space, we're never going to see a truly diverse industry. And what I've done is I've brought in and made sure that we've trained several women who are completely, or at least were at that time, completely new to the streaming space. They've been with us for years. They've learned. Some have learned to code. Some have become, you know, business development executives. But you know, we've trained, and again, that comes from my own background because I didn't have a background that made me qualified for this industry, and I don't have a CV other than my being an entrepreneur and starting companies that would be accepted by probably any company in this streaming space. Yet I happen to lead one of the more prominent streaming services in this space as well. So because of that, I recognize that the qualifications on a CV are not the only thing that I look for. And again, that's evident, you know, in my team and who I've built up and who's around me.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. I would also like to ask you if there are any books, podcasts, or other resources that you would recommend for those looking to learn more about allyship at work, particularly in the context of gender equity in the streaming media industry, or I don't know, more in general.
I wouldn't, I don't know of any podcasts or books off the top that I would recommend. I would say there are voices that are prominent in the streaming industry as thought leaders that I think are very good at promoting the correct message. I would say you know, people like Evan Shapiro is one that I like because he is extremely vocal about the lack of, you know, diversity and a supporter of that. There's also people like Marion Ranchit, I believe is the way you pronounce her name. That I mean, she's a woman in streaming media, and she is, you know, very vocal about her own experiences, um, and knowledgeable. And you know, I think that there are, you know, great thought leaders in this space, that can give good insights, and that also, you know, seem to be able to um, provide a helping hand or you know, some type of mentorship. I think more than anything else, um, I think it's important to seek, you know, strong mentors in this space, um, that share values and that have, you know, the experience of having to have dealt with hurdles and having to navigate um, a world that is run uh, primarily by white men, and I think that you know, that's where a lot of lessons can be learned. I think that there are ways to navigate this space that are better shared in person and in private, that may not be communicated on a podcast or openly in a book. And you know, that's the world that we live in. So I think that, you know, again, one-on-one conversations, you know, and meeting with people that are truly allies um to your mission. That's what's key.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for the advice. And my last question to wrap up. Do you think that your perspective on allyship has evolved over the years, and how?
I would say no. It hasn't evolved. I think I've always been this way. Um, I've, you know, I've been a minority for as far back as I can remember. So, you know, I've experienced a number of injustices throughout my entire life. And I think that's always made me as a human being sensitive to others. So I've always had that understanding, and I've always needed to work with, you know, before I knew what allyship meant, I've always had to work with allies in order to, you know, to achieve my own goals. So it's always been a part of me. I've constantly been, uh, you know, battling and fighting for justice, and, you know, fighting for equity in this space. I continue to do so. I'm not there, um, and it's a constant battle. And uh, no, I don't think my perspective has changed at all. I think it's been fairly consistent.
Okay. Thank you. Dipali, I don't know, any more questions from the chat or additional ones?
I have actually a question, like, on the last question, like you mentioned that your perspective is not changed. What do you think, what are the actions from the industry point of view, or the, communities which are there who influence the industry or companies, they can take to make sure that it's not consistent for the next generation, but it is changing somewhere?
Um, I think it happens from the inside. I think that, you know, uh, we we need to, as people that are compassionate and passionate and empathetic, we need to, from the inside, spread these values and communicate with others to share these values and incept and start to build a culture around the way that we feel, so that hiring practices, so that the recognition of promotion opportunities, so that you know, the right people being in the room to create um, a more diverse and you know, equitable policies for businesses uh, are present. And I think that, you know, the companies that do that, it's always intentional, right? So, you know, when I speak about me recognizing people, and in this case, women that have the drive and the will, but not the experience, and saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to hire you. I'm going to train you, and you'll be in this space, right? And again, once they're in, then maybe they can, you know, if they get an offer to another job opportunity, but at least they're in the door, and they start to have that experience that is needed on the CV. But I think that it takes recognizing that, and I think that there's no company that builds a diverse team without being intentional about doing that. So it has to be intentional. I think that it's very easy to go the route of saying um, they just don't have the qualifications, right? If you do that, then you're gonna have a bunch of minions, right? People that look alike, right? Um, but you know, in general, I think that it takes being intentional, and I don't know if that's something that can just happen. I think that a company that is even thinking along those lines is doing it. So it takes us recognizing that to do whatever we can from inside those organizations to make that happen. Because if it was something that these other organizations um, truly were passionate about, again, it's intentional. It would be happening, right? Um, so that would be my take.
Yeah, very interesting and very well said. It has to be, definitely um, intentional efforts. I'm also curious to know, like you mentioned, that your background is not from streaming media industry. Could you talk a little bit about what's your background and how did you manage to get um, a leadership role in the streaming media industry?
Um, it's a very long story, but I would say the gist is that I've always been a leader itself. I've always been an entrepreneurial spirit. I've always been um, a person who kind of sees opportunity and takes the unorthodox route towards towards I guess solving issues, or recognizing um, what doesn't exist in a space. Um, and within the streaming industry, I, you know, saw an opportunity to grow within the streaming space some, you know, 15 plus years ago, um, launching Tune Goggles, forming a partnership with other colleagues, right? And again, this goes back to the whole idea of allyship, right? And me being able to find the group of people that I could work, that I could build with, that enabled me to continue to grow and execute on my vision, that then allowed for me to hire more people and build a larger company. And again, we're still building, we're still growing, but you know, a lot in between. But I would say that I've always been a leader, and I've always been an entrepreneur. Um, I enjoy creative thinking. Um, I enjoy the challenges of starting companies. And I also enjoy having control over what I do in my life, but I also like to work. So I think those two things moving together make me a hard worker, but I feel more accomplished because I'm working for myself and following my dream, and also I'm able to help my friends and family, and you know, for the sake of this, women that have been, significant within my life as well. Um, and I enjoy doing that.
Excellent. And, as you rightly said, the empathy it's a key of, successful leadership. And every small step matters. Like, I always give this example in the allyship call. And, when I'm talking to anyone from the allyship point of view, that even if, you take a simple step to allow a woman in a room full of male to speak and complete her sentence and put her views, that's also a great step. But most of the time, women don't feel like enough heard. When you go to the conferences room, or for that matter, industry events also, you will find very rarely women are, loudly speaking about their views and opinions. Some of the cases, yes, you see, but some of the cases you see that they have a lot to share, but they feel like, oh, people are not going to hear me. And listening ears is very, helpful. Sometimes you see that there are biases, there are unconscious, conscious biasness, and that point you just need someone to communicate or someone to come and say, hey, I might have not taken the action, but I have observed it. And that also kind of gives you a kind of a confidence which is required at that moment. And this small step can also make a big difference. Um, During the interview process, I think majority time we all know, and I have seen it, this is my personal experience, that majority time people just see the past experiences, and they don't see the potential in the person, right? They always compare like orange with the apple, apple with the orange. They don't see that no two people and no two situations are same. And definitely, potential in the person to learn the about the industry, about the role is more important in the current era, because experience eventually you will earn, but if you don't have the learning ability, it's not going to make you that role possible for you. And thank you for the those great recommendations. I'm definitely going to follow those people, and it was wonderful to listen from your experience. As we conclude today's call on the Ally of the Month, it's essential to recognize that discussing diversity and inclusion, it's very small basic step. It's our actions that drive the real change, whether it's listening in a situation where women needs to be, heard, or just taking a small step in your recruitment process by understanding the potential in the candidate and giving them that opportunity. Uh, Beyond the words, we must actively advocate for the diversity and inclusion in our workplaces, not just workplaces, at industry events, um, even in the recruitment process, in the industry events. Till today, in 2024, we see the very less women. In some of the panels, I haven't seen women actively participating, and I always encourage, male advocates to speak about it. Say no to the panel where women are not there, or to ensure that they send their women representative from the organizations to the conferences. By doing so, we not only strengthen our organizations, but also foster a more equitable industry for everyone involved. Stephen, thank you so much. Your dedication to this cause is invaluable, and together we continue to make a significant difference. Thank you for all your consistent commitment and efforts. advancing the diversity and inclusion. Thanks for being our ally of the month and sharing your experience and insights with our network. It's such an inspirational story. Like we always feel like male only, only women feel or face such kind of situations, but it's coming from you. Also, kind of inspiring for us that it's the fight which we constantly, need to talk about, and we also need to have the empathy as a core element of being a human being. Let's keep this conversation going to ensure the women feel valued and included in the streaming media industry. And for more discussions and collaborations, the network in women in streaming media, you can connect with Stephen on LinkedIn, or you can also write to us on our email address at allyship@womeninstreamingmedia.org. Your queries, questions, anything is there for Stephen. We will pass it to him, or you can directly reach out to him on LinkedIn. I have got exciting news to share with everyone that we have our monthly remote member meetup upcoming next Thursday on June 27th at 8 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. EST, and 4 p.m. British Summer Time. Alongside the updates from our board members across the various areas like education, speaking engagement, mentorship, allyship, we are excited to host a special guest who will discuss tracking achievements, sharing her insights and best practices. Don't miss this opportunity. It's essential to track your achievement and constantly remind yourself who you are. And she's going to share fabulous insight. She has been doing this for a long time, and it's going to be wonderful to listen from her. What is her experience? We are getting constantly feedback from our members what they want to see in our remote member meetup, what kind of guest, and what kind of workshops they want to see. And on the basis of that, this is going to be an exciting opportunity next week on Thursday. So don't forget to join our monthly remote member meetup on 27th June. Stay connected by following us on LinkedIn, because that's where you will come to know more about our upcoming events, about our remote member meetup, and the activities which we are doing on the different verticals. You can also sign in on our website so that you don't miss an opportunity. We regularly share newsletter to our members, and that's an opportunity for you to know about everything happening in the streaming media industry for women. Your feedback is really, really important to us. So let us know what you like and where we can improve by filling the form, which I have posted in the chat window. You will find the link there in the chat window, and it will help us to improve the Ally of the Month and bring the more and more allies from the industry. Thank you, Stephen, again for being such an awesome ally. Thank you to my allyship team, Lisa. She's not here today, but Lisa and Leto, for your constant efforts. You both are amazing. If you know someone in your network who is champion diversity, amplifies women's voices, and believes in the power of allyship, we would love to hear about them. We are always looking for the more male advocates to join our allyship program. You can reach us on allyship@womeninstreamingmedia.org, or there is a form on our website on allyship page where you can fill their details and recommend someone from your network. Have a good evening, good day, or good morning, depending on your time zone. Join us next month for another awesome Ally of the Month. Thank you so much and take care. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, everyone.